very nice on the ladder. I want to say he's been very fun to play, but that doesn't really go up for the last few games I had against him. Because, you know, he's one of these guys. I used to have fun games with him, Kaz. We go back and forth. I win one, he wins one. And now we reached the point where he's beating me with mass Blue Flame Hellions and Widow Mines. And I don't like it anymore. But that just really goes to show how much he has leveled up. In the top left side of Curious Minds, we are looking at the main base of the Raynor Slayer. It is MilkiCow.
And on the bottom right-hand side, you may know him as a memester, but also a DreamHack champion in his own right. It is PtitDrogo. An absolute beast, a legend.
DreamHack Leipzig 2016. The days where adepts would two-shot Marines and SCVs. Drogo liked that patch a lot. He was very good with the adepts.
He sure was. And I don't get bored of saying that he's one of the more methodical players. Like, he really has every step of the game planned out for himself. So we'll see if his plans are good enough for the young Russian here.
We can take a look at the entire group as well. We were already talking a little bit about it before the break, but I think this is the only group that has not one or two heavy hitters, but has three heavy serious contenders to go very deep in this entire tournament. Lambo, Hero Marine, and Max Packs. I think if we ask most diehard StarCraft 2 fans, are all three of those players top 8 in the European scene? I think almost everyone would say yes, because that's just how good those three guys are. And that means that every other series for Drogo and MilkiCow is going to be very important. And in my eyes, these two are the main contenders for that final slot into the playoffs. So even if it's the opening day, don't be mistaken. This is not one of these warm-up series. No, this is a very important one for both of them.
Absolutely. And I mean, amongst the rest, it is a very dangerous field as well, right? Because we have the likes of Strange and Bly and Aquaron. I mean, extremely aggressive, unpredictable players, I think. So this group's going to be very exciting, I think, to watch. And this match in particular could determine between these two who gets really the upper hand. So
what is this going to be, by the way? What are we? Okay, we're going to open up with a couple of Marauders, apparently, already. Not the opening that I expected on Curious Minds. I feel if you want to throw this in a best of 3, I would do it on a Hardwire or a Glittering, even if those maps are a little bit bigger. But A, this map has a ramp going into the natural, and that means that Marauders often don't have a very good time because they don't know what's waiting on top of that ramp. And B, this is such a good map for Karen. Yeah.
Gets the bait, though. Gets the bait onto the Adept. They will shade forward, probably kill the SCV. Nice repositioning there by MilkiCow to save the SCV. So he's going to get himself an Adept. I'm sure that Marauder was maybe hoping for a Stalker. It will be spotted. But
recall?
Do you think that it was just a defensive Marauder, Roddy? Is there a universe where he was hoping that there would be, well, either this or even better, a Stalker walking up that ramp?
Okay, that Stalker should absolutely turn around. Drogo, why are we here? You don't want to get tagged. You don't want to get tagged.
Oh, my God. He's got him.
No.
Oh, he gets away.
That's crazy, though, for that Stalker to be there after we already scouted the Marauder. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. The Hellion alone, that's something that this Stalker can obviously deal with. I'm not totally sure. It seems that it is indeed going to be a defensive Marauder because we're going to follow it up with a Widow Mine drop. Now, I have to admit, if I was Drogo, I'd be thinking about a lot of things, but not about a Widow Mine drop after I scout a Hellion and a Marauder. This all has to be a little bit confusing for the French Protoss.
Yeah, and this is the kind of tactic that I love. That Hellion actually almost gets 2 probes there towards the tail end. It was just a scouting Hellion, I think, for MilkiCow as he ran past the first Stalker. It was always doomed to die. Gets the scouting information that he wanted. But yeah, now there's this Widow Mine drop that you were talking about, Roddy. And again, this is, I think, the kind of style that you want to throw into Drogo's face because he is such an organized player that you want to throw his plan out the window as early as possible.
Yeah. And we are going to use that tech lab to just build tanks. And once more, this is a very small map, and it's so damn good for those Marine tank pushes. That's why I am surprised that we're playing Curious Minds. Stalkers are going to chase the Hellion. We're actually kind of fine. The matter of fact, Manila Stalkers are a bit out of position, though. That means we don't have a lot of DPS. I don't think we're going to get too many probes, but there will definitely be a decent amount of lost mining time.
Oh. Hello? The probes don't move, though. What's going on there? Oh, my God. Those Widow Mines had no business getting 7 probes there.
I am indeed very surprised that happened too. That felt like it was supposed to be just 2 probes going down. Maybe 3 if you get unlucky with a rally point or probes are clumsy, but should not have been 7. A little mistake there by Drogo. And that Hellion has done a good job in delaying this Nexus from going down too. Man, going Blink Stalker, Colossus, on Curious Minds. when we know that we're going to get pushed. There is going to be an interference matrix coming out of the Raven. I feel like I've seen this game many times, and it does not end well for the Protoss. But maybe Drogo can create some chaos, can delay the push from happening, blink into the main base, somehow snipe the Raven. Because if we don't do anything crazy, cats, there's going to be a Terran army knocking on the front door that's going to be too powerful to deal with.
Yeah, and when I think of crazy, I don't think of Drogo necessarily. Again, his game is usually pretty organized and pretty straightforward, so it's going to be difficult for him, I think, to break that pattern. Should be noted, though, that MilkiCow can make mistakes, right? Like when you compare it to Serral, for example, and we were talking about how Serral will show a set of units on one side and then strike on the other. MilkiCow kind of did the opposite with his Hellion, right? Like, he actually dragged the Stalkers over to spot his medevac. So inconsistent, right? Like, he maybe could have done that and send the medevac to the other side, and that really shows that there's still time to grow. This Raven, actually, I also don't like it so much, as it's not going to be able to accomplish much, and now you don't have energy or as much energy to work with on defense.
Yeah, I think I would have preferred to see that Raven bank up energy too and then rely on the Matrix. This is the stuff that is a bit hit or miss, right? Maybe Drogo's paying more attention to the Stalkers, and then we can actually find 4 or 5 probes very quickly with another turret. It's going to drop the second auto turret as well. Well, the entire Protoss army is there. So we just wasted 100 energy to kill 2 probes, I believe, and a Guardian Shield. Yeah, I don't think that was...
He's still moving out. That's weird, right?
Yep, I'm with you. A bit confusing. We have another mine drop, though. I mean, MilkiCow is going up to 3 bases, so he's not planning on ending this game anytime soon. This mine drop in the main base, I think, has a lot of potential. Does Drogo pay attention? It seems like yes, is going to be the answer in the end.
Yeah, evacuates the whole mineral line, though, so he can pay attention here to the other side, as MilkiCow has used this opportunity to move on forward. Now moving into the natural base, still dropping both Widow Mines. And will this time burrow and get 3 probes for his trouble. So good job there from Drogo, who will also catch the exposed tank at the front. So good crisis management there from Drogo. MilkiCow still did pull 2 mineral lines and does have an advantage in terms of supply and just from that early game. So this game is very much in the open.
Yeah, and the Terran player obviously being down 2 workers is pretty sweet for the Terran, as these armies are getting dangerously close to one another. But I would have really loved to see that, and if I think of all the things that make Clem, is you leave 1 mine in the main base, right? And you can even leave it unburrowed for a split second, because then Drogo needs to warp in, and by the time that Drogo is busy dealing with that, then the other mine can go for the natural. So these are still, I think, little steps that MilkiCow could take. Drogo did that very well, but I feel that MilkiCow also gives Drogo the time and opportunity to handle that very well. I hope Drogo's paying attention to his Colossus, and he is.
Yeah, there's that shield battery as well available, but I mean, imagine that push with the Raven energy to disable 2 Colossus, right? That also looks different. So yeah. there's definitely room for tinkering for a MilkiCow that is playing a very interesting game strategically, making it very chaotic. It's very exciting. A very exciting prospect as he's gonna go into the main. A little bit of a YOLO move, but gets a hold of the ramp. A Widow Mine will, 2 Widow Mines actually will burrow and collapse onto those Zealots at the same time. MilkiCow looking for something in the middle, as those mines are actually going to be pretty successful in taking down a Stalker and a mine. It's a shame that there isn't an extra 1 or 2 Marauders there to finish off the Colossus. But
like normally we see it the other way around, right? The Colossus go down, the Gateway units survive. Now it felt like almost all the Gateway units went down, but all 3 Colossus are still going strong. MilkiCow has another Widow Mine in the center, gets a very sweet connection, because deals a lot of damage. Medevacs misread a little bit. This game definitely getting scrappy. Drogo wants to deal damage to the top left side, but MilkiCow is back into the main base. And are we going to recall? Yes, we are going to recall, and that's great for MilkiCow, because now MilkiCow can enjoy that economic advantage he's been creating for himself. And he's got Vikings out, he's got Ghosts out, but he needs to move these medevacs away, that's for sure.
Oh, wow. Relentless MilkiCow with the Widow Mine drops as well. I mean, his multitasking has been superb. Yeah. And still moving out on all fronts. So like you said, I mean, he loses a few units in the process of weakening the economy of Drogo. Drogo identifies that, wants to move out, but MilkiCow doesn't let him, and 1 Colossus will get caught in the middle there as MilkiCow continues the push here onto the 3rd, taking control of this middle ground between the natural and the 3rd. Maybe it's time for MilkiCow to just regroup, chill back,
heal up a little bit, right?
Army now.
Let's heal up, because the medevacs are somewhat low on energy, and they're definitely better than Bruce. A lot of the Marauders are very low on energy. Like, Drogo is just going to make a very powerful push now. If MilkiCow holds, he's going to be in a phenomenal spot. But can he hold? Because a lot of his units are low on HP, but he does land a little EMP on all the Stalkers, and that's going to scare Drogo away for now.
Yeah, the ramp is a nice position for the Vikings as well, making it difficult for those stalkers to get in a position to shoot back. So it's a nice position for MilkiCow to take and to push back Drogo as he gets a hold of this game. I mean, now 40 supply ahead. The Raven low on energy or no energy and very low on HP. Now it's going to be allowed to retreat. Okay, Drogo does blink for it. Second blink should catch it, but...
Yeah, but will he chase? Because now he sees a Widow Mine too, and he's afraid he's going to run into a Terran army. Good job there by MilkiCow. Oh, he has to move it though. The main reason why MilkiCow just evacuated it is because Drogo warped in some High Templars in the third base, landed the feedback as well. It was already low on energy, but that made it go back to 0. And MilkiCow knew, all right, if it just regenerates energy again, I get feedback again, it's going to go down anyway. So I may as well try to save it, and he somehow did.
Warp Prism near the base of MilkiCow will get repelled by a turret, and that means, I mean, this Warp Prism, look for it. If Drogo's gonna get back into this game, it's probably gonna have something to do with that, but MilkiCow already accounted for it with a turret. Drogo's gonna look to angle for Warpins into the third, potentially.
Great multitasking by MilkiCow in this game for sure, and he's been very on the money when it comes to producing SCVs, just non-stop, hasn't skipped a beat. 6 Zealots running into a mineral line could definitely cause some issues. We're going to land the Vikings. What a lovely spot for Vikings to land, by the way. Protected by the supply depots.
Yeah, so automatically they're covered from surrounds. Good EMPs as well in the middle of the map. Good reactions from the very fast Russian player here that's now taking a 4th base faster than Drogo. I mean, he has already finished that 4th base, already 50 supply ahead, and has a beautiful Marine here posted to deny the 4th base of Drogo. Things are looking awful for the Frenchman.
Yeah, but we do have Disruptors, and one ball gets a very good connection. So things look a little less awful now. We did lose one of the 2 Disruptors, but I think that was an alrighty trade. I'll lose 1 Disruptor and kill 5 Marauders and a Ghost or whatever just went down there. MilkiCow is being very aggressive without his entire army. This is very cool, and it shows a lot of confidence, but also it's the kind of stuff that can backfire.
It can backfire, and he should have no reason. Like, this is where cooler heads prevail, right? You have the 4th, you know you have the economic advantage, you just took a big disruptor to the face. Yes, you might be able... Yes, you might be able to push on forward and end the game, but you can also sit back for a little bit, regroup, max out, and definitely get a huge advantage here and potentially close out. MilkiCow, however, he scans.
Nope, it's gonna go for the anti-armor missile instead. Connects with a couple of Archons. Novas go forward, blow up a Stalker. The Vikings are going to town on the Colossus. And it seems like this Terran army is just a little bit too powerful. All that remains is a couple of Archons and a few Stalkers. And that should not be enough to deal with all these Marauders and a couple of Marines that are still left over.
The next set of Warpins does help here, as the medevacs are completely out of energy, and now having to go back into those medevacs is going to make it so that the Stalkers can fire at 1 unit at a time as it unloads, but MilkiCow is relentless with the reinforcing here, and that looks like it's still going to end up being enough. And if it isn't enough right now, I mean, it's certainly going to be enough in the long run, as MilkiCow is going to be forced to retreat one more time.
Yeah, and he has killed all the robo units, right? So there's nothing for Drogo to really hang on there. If Drogo would have still been sitting there with 2 Colossus and a Disruptor, then you always believe, because then the next set of Zealot Warpins could keep your powerful units safe. But MilkiCow already took care of all the Colossus, took care of all the Disruptors. Sick game by MilkiCow. I feel like there are easy ways to play on Curious Minds and probably still get a dub. I felt like he went for hard mode. He's like, all right, I could just do a big Gape special push, land the Matrix, stim, set up a couple tanks, and probably win the game. Or I can just go for non-stop multi-prong, Widow Mine drops, Raven arrest, while building a lot of SCVs at home and go up to 4 bases. He looked damn good in that game.
Yeah, I feel like if someone watches this game and you ask them who is the younger player, they would know, right? Like, just based off of like playstyle, like it's just so erratic and so non-stop chaos on the side of MilkiCow, and it's really fun to watch. But I mean, that is a skill to rein in that chaos, right? Like Clem is learning to do, like Raynor has had to learn to do, like Cyril has. Well, Cyril's always kind of been just of a cooler head, I guess, brand of player. But yeah, I think MilkiCow is a very exciting prospect for that reason. We see that he has the potential. And sometimes it is time to push on the gas pedal and go for the non-stop aggression. Sometimes there's, like you said, easier ways to close out the game, right? So he needs to learn to identify which is which, and then I think we have a star player in our hands.
While this is going on, we also have Max Packs against Strange happening in Group B. That's on ESL_SC2B. Max Packs is up 1-0 apparently. And Group C, a result that we didn't touch upon yet is that Mana took out Hate Me 2-0. So Team Liquid Mana, you're bashing the oldies over here. And yes, Kat, I feel personally attacked when you're talking about age. But Mana is showing us that we're never too old to get a W or two in the DreamHack Masters. So a great start for Mana. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's Mana's definitely a veteran, but he's been around he started very young as well, Mana, right? So he's not even that old, really. But in the bottom left-hand side here, we have another veteran looking to make a comeback in this series. Traditionally the favorite. It is Drogo.
Now I just want to know, when are you that old, Cats? Huh? Throw a number out there.
Like, I mean, 35 is where I'm at. I'm like, I really can't take games anymore already.
All right, well, that's my number 2. In the top right side, we're looking at the main base of the youngster. Took a very convincing 1-0 lead. Looked flashy, played awesome. Can he close it out in his opening match of the DreamHack Masters 2022? This is MilkiCow. This is a more difficult map, though. I think Drogo should have an easier time getting economically ahead on Glittering Ashes. Maybe get some more map vision going, and then it could be a very different game. Like, I'm shocked that he is willing to play on Curious in a best of 3. I think that map is so damn difficult, and I know I'm not the only one. A lot of Froze players have been quite vocal about disliking Curious, but for the second time today, it has made it into the map pool of a best of 3. Like, best of 5, I get it. Best of 3? Whew.
Yeah, that is interesting, especially against the brand of Terran that MilkiCow is bringing that I am sure Drogo is familiar with, right? But yeah, I mean, it's good to see MilkiCow doing as good as he did and as good as he's continuing to do here. He has been practicing a lot with the big dogs, right? Like, he's a reliable practice partner for a lot of the strongest players in the region, and now he's trying to forge his own path to create a name for himself. Let's see if he's able to here.
And the young man also has a lot of creative builds, right? It's definitely not one of these Terrans that goes repower, fast expand, factory, every game, get a bunker, and we'll take it from there. But even in the initial buildings going down, he switches it up a lot. And I'll be honest, if I was Drogo in that previous game, I'd be so confused. It's like Marauder, Concussive Shells, a Hellion, now a Widowmine dropping, Raven and Rest. It's like, what is this? Like, what am I going up against? And I know that Phoenixes would be very good against all of that stuff. And maybe Drogo agrees as he opens up at the Stargate, but it could, of course, be for an Oracle as well, which is still a very valid choice in this matchup.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that you point that out, because it's so exciting also from that perspective to watch a MilkiCow that is creative, that makes up his own strategies. And I do think that stylistically, that is the way to beat Drogo if you're gonna plan for anything. It's to plan to make it chaotic. It's to plan to throw plans out the window. Because when it comes to planning, again, Drogo, one of the best in the region, I think. This Adept is gonna check as it needs to, probably against MilkiCow. Maybe the Hellions can give chase, but they're gonna choose not to.
So it's 2 Hellions. Now, if you're Drogo, you're obviously worried about Hellion number 3 and 4 as well. Taking a look at what the Adept saw, and the Adept did not get into the main base. So you're like, hope it's not a proxy starport. And I think that's why Drogo is sending out a little probe right now as well towards the top left. Clem does a lot of Hellion drops on this map. But if you see that your opponent is being reckless with the Hellions, then you kind of know it is not going to be 4 Hellions. It's not going to be a Hellion drop. It will most likely be a Widowmine follow-up. Because obviously as a Terran, if you want to go for a 4 Hellion drop, you don't throw away one or even both the initial 4 Hellions.
Yeah, beautiful setup by Drogo there. Drops a pylon, takes the probe to the side to check for the Hellion drop like you were talking about, and has the time to also, the time and presence of mind to shade back the Adepts to deny the scout at the front. So beautiful moves from Drogo, and now he's going to get into the main base with an Oracle. Only 2 Marines here on site.
Yeah, I think he's very worried about flying into a mine, but he saw that medevac and he was even looking at it. Maybe he barely missed it, but now he sees the armory, so he should absolutely know what is happening over here. These Widow Mines are going to be permanently cloaked Widow Mines as they are making their way into the natural, but the armory is not done, so these mines will be revealed by the Adepts actually.
Oh, man.
Well, that's not too bad, to be honest. I don't even hate losing Adepts. I much rather lose Adepts than lose probes.
Yeah, but again, burrowing all 3 Widow Mines there, right? Like, there was no potential for the third one, I think, to do anything. I would have much rather seen the medevac drop 1 or 2 and move into the main to threaten that Menor line at the same time. Especially if you're looking for the Cloaked Widow Mines, as now the armory finally finishes.
Yeah, I think MilkiCow thought it was already done, and that's why he burrowed the other 2. He could kill the Oracle here, and he does get the Oracle kill. Kills his own medevac too, but that one was going to go down anyway. Killing the Oracle is big, because that was the only real detection that Drogo is currently working with. And we know there is another set of permanently cloaked Widow Mines heading towards the natural of Drogo. 1 Phoenix is not enough there. This is gonna hurt, man. We need that observer in the right spot immediately. Drogo knows something is coming, but he doesn't know where it's coming from. And he's ready in the main, but he's not ready in the natural.
Yeah, MilkiCow trying to bait the Phoenix perhaps as he unloads the Widow Mines and will look to bait. I'm not... This is overcomplicating it, overplaying it. That path had already been cleared. Checks, there's no Phoenix here. Maybe it's go time now. And yeah, there's going to be 1 observer available, maybe 2 now. But like you said, there is 1 right spot. Please move on past this with 1 of the Widow Mines. Nice. He goes for the main. And this is much better because, like you said, there's 1 observer. It's going to be at the right spot. It can't split itself into 2, however.
The one in the main does not fire, but
yeah,
the ones in the natural did. I like that he's splitting them up now as well, just to be proper annoying. Both observers are here. Is Drogo using a little F2 there, or was this on purpose? What do you think?
Probably. He has to be, right? And this Oracle, I mean, not the best focus fire from Drogo. I thought he would finish those 3 SCVs towards the tail end. But yeah, maybe he's playing without health bars on or something. But 3 very red SCVs that the Oracle could have killed.
Yeah, I think he was just very paranoid that there was a Widow Mine there. He did not want to lose the Oracle to a Widow Mine. He figured that Widow Mines were the follow-up after seeing only 2 Hellions and seeing MilkiCow be kind of careless with those Hellions. But it was a bit weird because he activated Pulsar Beam and then he started shooting at the starport. Like, that starport has lost 46 of its health. That could have been a dead SCV.
Yeah. All right. Well, Drogo does have a lead in terms of workers, in terms of supply here. And fairly close in terms of army. Also getting the thermal lance for his Colossus and Blink. MilkiCow is working on his upgrades now, as well as Stim and Combat Shield. So whose position do you like better, Roddy?
Definitely Drogo. I feel like we got here in kind of a hectic manner. It wasn't all smooth sailing, and I don't think we had to lose the Oracle the way we did. On the other hand, there are so many things to worry about. Players always feel some pressure and nerves as well. No matter how long you've been playing this game, when it's the start of a brand new DreamHack season, you're feeling it, and it's very hard to bring out your A game immediately. Sure, if you're Cyril, Rainer, Clem, you've won this tournament, yeah, then you can do that kind of stuff, but for everyone else, I think it's always pretty nerve-wracking, so I don't think we can expect super flawless play. But I think Drogo's spot is quite fine, man. Like, especially the map vision as well. We've got those 2 observers out. 1 ops is keeping an eye on the army of MilkiCow. I don't think there is like an opportunity for Drogo to end it anytime soon, but I don't think he wants that either, because he's investing in Double Forge and a Templar Archive. So I think we're just looking for a lovely max out, and maybe once we have at least 1-1 upgrades, then we can start thinking about aggressive. Right now, Drogo's just going to defend the lead that he has created for himself.
All right. MilkiCow is going to be looking to get aggressive himself. Has to be careful here. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Stalker positioning here from Drogo will spot this move out. However, he positions towards the middle of the map. Maybe if he had stayed on that high ground, he could have picked off the tank as it passed through the middle there, as MilkiCow is going to send his entire army through instead. So it's still a pretty scary push.
Okay, MilkiCow needs to be very careful with the way that he's clicking in the center of the map. This is the 2nd time in the last 30 seconds his entire army is split up. Imagine if Drogo is ready to pounce on it there with 12 Zealots in charge. We know that he doesn't have it yet, but normally 9 minutes into a game after a blink opening, there is a very real possibility that your opponent has charge. So MilkiCow should maybe take out the rocks, or at least be a little more mindful of where his army is moving.
Completely agreed. So now he's going to be continuing to move now on this position, a little bit safer, not going through the low ground where the high ground units could be threatening. And out in the open, Drogo's looking to meet him here, as he is going to be the one targeting down the rocks. The tanks are not sieged, and Drogo identifies that that's going to be his opportunity to blink forward. Be careful with that medevac, as it loses nearly 60% of its HP. And now this blink forward was a little bit adventurous, as MilkiCow is ready to turn around.
Wow.
Drogo gets a little bit too far ahead of Colossus.
Good EMP and good job sieging up the tanks during all of that, because those tanks were the ones that were still able to get a couple of shots off. I'm surprised that Drogo is now willing to be this aggressive, because his army is not even that bigger. Like, if we're just here to pick up some SCVs, I like it. If we're going to run into the Terran that's well set up, I think it's a little unnecessary. Like, maybe it worked, maybe it doesn't, but I feel like we don't have to do this. We've got 1-1 halfway done. We are on 4 bases. He's still on 3. One Colossus very low in HP already. I kind of love to see Drogo go back or try to sneak that Prism into the main base. Then it's all okay. He's so Zealot heavy, man. Look at that. 27 Zealots. 27. What the hell?
Yeah, and that might push him to try something here, but instead he's going to retreat. And retreating is now weird because he has 27 Zealots, right? So he put himself in a weird position to attack, and he hasn't gone for it. This Widowmine's going to do wonders. Not really.
We're going to get a second Robo, we're going to get a Dark Shrine, but I'm completely with you. You need to trade out some army supply, because you cannot max out and then let your opponent max out when you have 27 Zealots. Because sure, Zealots are very good when the armies are small, but if we are dealing with a maxed out Terran that has +2 attack, you don't want to start a fight with 54 supply in Zealots. And Drogo is going to lose a couple of them, and that's honestly not too bad for him at all. Let's just replace that with a few more powerful Protoss units.
Yeah, and we have arrived at the point at which MilkiCow is maxed with a very scary Terran army, and you still have a bunch of Zealots on the side of Drogo. 19 still remain, so he did trade some of them, but again, his army doesn't look very complex or scary at this point.
I'm totally with you, man. You look at the army supply, it's 131 on the side of MilkiCow. Drogo, currently 100, and then out of 100, 38 of it is in Zealots. And one Colossus is also very beat up, so that's going to be a sitting duck for the Vikings if we get a few more Vikings. It is definitely somewhat scary for Drogo, but I think Drogo knows that, and he's just going to try to make this game hectic, make sure it goes on a little while longer, and then we can get some DTs with Blink, a few more Disruptors. Maybe I don't even hate a couple of Immortals, by the way. I'm surprised there are 0 Immortals, because MilkiCow is pretty Marauder heavy. So I think having a few Immortals sprinkled into the mix wouldn't be a bad choice at all.
Yeah, MilkiCow does get information from those 2 Widowmines and knows where the army of Drogo is, so he's freely going through the top of the map, and he does have a very scary Terran army, and so it took him a little bit to decide that he was safe enough to move out, but now he is here. So Drogo with a tall task ahead of him. This doesn't look like all of the army of MilkiCow, though.
No, I don't. It is not. Like, but Drogo has once more split up his army a little bit. Kind of the same issue that MilkiCow had earlier. I think during this, we're going to have a tiny run-by into the natural as well. It's not much. A couple of Marauders and a Marine. I think MilkiCow is also trying to get rid of a couple of his basic units. Obviously, bio skills a bit better than Zealot only.
This could be good for MilkiCow.
Yeah, if he sees it, if he lands an EMP,
if he spots him.
But he's not paying attention yet. They haven't attacked yet.
Oh, no.
That's crazy.
That was incredible. All right, the DTs are going to reveal themselves one by one here, as the rest of them will make their way back potentially to be morphed into Archons. So scans having to be spent here from MilkiCow, who doesn't have turrets in any of his bases by the looks of it.
Yeah, that's
a bit problematic.
And kind of crazy as well for a 14-minute game to not have a single turret anywhere. Especially because this was a Stargate game too.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, I think, like you said, right? Like, neither of these players, I think, is playing at their best. Both under a lot of heavy scrutiny, I would say, like with a lot to prove for completely opposite reasons, perhaps. But yeah, I think MilkiCow also first time on camera, if I'm not mistaken. At least it's the first time I've seen his face. I've heard him talk a little bit during Among Us, like a few years back when everyone was playing that. But I have not seen him before, so that has to play a little bit into it.
Milky still just kind of splitting up a couple of Marines and Marauders on the top left and the bottom right. You don't want to throw away all your bio units at once, but just getting rid of a few supply here, a few supply there, and replacing that with more Liberators, more Vikings, more goals is good. DTs could go for the Planetary, but that was a very well-protected Planetary, so I think it's smart that Drogo decided not to go for it there. Wow, 4 Stargates at once, by the way. Whew.
That is a lot of Stargates. The fleet beacon as well coming down, and these DTs still no turret here at the front, and they're gonna go straight for the CC. And Drogo shows the army, which means the CC is not tended to. Good disruptor shots as well from Drogo, who's still causing mayhem with those Dark Templars. So Drogo creating chaos here. And
It
doing
is
a
obviously
wonderful job of it.
that is a big investment, but it's just pulling MilkiCow completely out of position. Drogo's main army is now going to start working on a couple of those additional orbitals that are just standing here. Second orbital gets picked off. We're going to get a War Prism in the mix as well. Not all the Liberators are sieged up yet. Drogo feels that there is an opportunity for him. Needs to be a little careful as quite a few lip shots did go off there. We are working on +2 ship weapons, which is a very important upgrade. As Drogo feels that he can just take this fight, and I don't think he's wrong. He's using the Novas to push away the bio, and he's just picking up Liberators one by one, but that's still so many Liberators. What a crazy engagement.
That was a lot of Liberators, really scary, but Drogo expertly does dismantle that siege from MilkiCow. So it's gonna be Drogo here pulling ahead in the supply department, as he is also securing a 5th base while threatening the economy of MilkiCow. As Liberators, MilkiCow decided that this was the answer, and it very oftentimes is. He had a lot of them, but they weren't in position initially, so now he's having to creep on forward with whatever he has remaining.
And there was just no bio protecting it at all, right? If you just have like 8 Marauders on the ground, you're already gonna have a very good time if the Protoss ever decides to blink forward. But all the Marauders were chasing those DTs that ran into the main base. Just really cool army movement by Drogo, man. He's utilizing the DTs, looking for openings, finding them, pulling the opponent out of position, and then he's just getting freebies left and right. That's kind of a crazy blink, and he needs to be really careful with that, because +2 is seconds away from finishing up, as we have one more Nova go down. And an EMP and +2 ship weapons means that Liberators will one-shot Stalkers, and that's where you need to be very careful.
Yeah, but Drogo's already ready with the Tempests here, so the Liberators are gonna lose a little bit of effectiveness here, as Drogo's looking to continue on with the pressure and continue on with his siege. Not sure that he needs to take this engagement right away. However, a lot of the Liberators are sieging these Ghosts. Not as easy of a time as the bio would have splitting, and that means that Drogo's gonna push on through and most likely be able to end this game. Nice pickups from MilkiCow. He's been wonderful in the micro department, but he's gonna have to micro his heart out here to stand a chance. Not possible.
Yep, just wasn't quite ready anymore. He wasn't ready at all for the DTs, and it basically felt the last 3 minutes he was scrambling to find himself in that spot where he's like, all right, here's my army, heal up, let's max out. Just wasn't able to get there. Drogo was in his face, all over him, and every single time that Milky was close to that one moment of getting everything together, something else happened, and he had to deal with that again. So he's just trying to take care of all the fires that are happening left and right. And then in the end, wasn't quite ready for the big push with a couple of Tempests. Because that army of Drogo was still not even all that terrifying. If you have healthy bio, let's say 8 Vikings, and then the Libs, and you have the Ghost in the mix. But Drogo gave him no time. It was a pretty cool game.
It was an awesome game. I mean, I think that there were some key moments where maybe MilkiCow, when he gets maxed and he knows that the army of Drogo lacks complexity, he maybe could have grouped his entire army and just moved across the map, and that would have been a really difficult attack to stop. But then Drogo, I mean, once he kind of, like stabilized, he really had control of that game and had some wonderful moves to pull the Russian apart. And props to MilkiCow, however, because most of what he was doing in game 1 was just a lot of multitasking and flooding and like strategically maybe not as strong, but he had a couple of really intelligent moves here where, with the Liberators, for example, when the army wasn't there, he took shelter in the airspace and in those high grounds, right? That was pretty cute, right? Like just to make sure that he could leap on forward from somewhere without being overly exposed. So cool maneuvers, not enough for that game, but it's 1-1, and it's pretty much what we expected.
Yeah, we thought
the series.
Exactly. We really thought that these two would be evenly matched, and we know it's a big series for them. It is nice for MilkiCow that he already snapped that streak, because the last 3 times he played against Drogo, it was 0-2, 0-2, 0-2. So it's really good for him to show that all the hard work is clearly paying off, and now he's able to push his opponent to the limit. Let's see who ends up on top here in the opening match of this group for both of them, but a very important one, because this group is complemented with Max Pax, Lambo, and Gabe, and taking out those guys is impossible for most players on this planet. In the top right side of Hardwire, we're looking at the main base of the French veteran, DreamHack Leipzig 2016 champion, PtitDrogo.
We can leave the year out, right? Like next time. And the bottom left-hand side, it is a champion to be perhaps in a few years. MilkiCow.
MilkiCow, DreamHack Valencia 2024 champ.
Maybe so. I'd love that.
Gonna build his
I love this as well.
Building the first barracks. Juanito does this all the time, by the way. I've casted a lot of Special lately because Special has been enjoying playing in the European Cups in this day and age since he's back in Mexico. And almost every game that Juanito plays, he builds the barracks not at home, but definitely not always on the other side of the map. Just somewhere near his own main, but basically keep your opponent guessing and then follow it up with the double gas so we can get a quick factory. And of course, there will be an expand, but it's just a little bit later. And trying to create, I guess, some uncertainty at your opponent.
Yeah, I mean, a sellout would be a good overreaction here on the side of Drogo, for example, if you're MilkiCow. And playing off of your reputation in a match that has very high stakes, no one likes to lose to cheese, right? So it's oftentimes the easier way to kind of gain yourself an advantage. Cute factory here to block off the entrance. So not leaving room for the add-on will mean that he has to float it over a little bit later, but the nice information for now.
Yep, but obviously nice information for Drogo too, right? Knowing that there is a factory at home. If you see a third depot there, that's where all the alarm bells go off. And you're like, oh my goodness, a factory out on the map. Are we going to build a starport too? Is this all out one base aggression? No, Drogo knows that it's just a barracks. And he's going to have to deal with the bunker. He's going to have to deal with the Reaper. You definitely don't want to lose two probes immediately. Losing your scouting probe is one thing. That Stalker is actually going to kill the SUV before the bunker is done. This is a good start, man, for Drogo. He won't get the Reaper here. This has to be a start that you feel very happy with.
Yeah, great prioritizing from Drogo. Good idea from MilkiCow, right? To run the Reaper past, to try to get him to chase the Stalker and finish the bunker. But Drogo identifies what his condition to deflect this is in killing the SUV, building the bunker first, and then focusing on the Reaper. So good moves from the veteran.
What do you think of Drogo going Twilight here, Cats?
I think, I don't know, Blink seems pretty normal, right, of an opener here. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy. So, yeah, I think it just shows confidence to some degree. What do you think?
I'm like, I feel whenever you know you're economically ahead because your Nexus is so much quicker than the command center on the other side of the map. To me, it makes a little more sense to play Stargate, and it doesn't matter if you go Oracle or Phoenix or maybe a little combination of both, and then you follow it up with a Twilight, because then you have all the information in the world to work with, and you know you're ahead anyway. Right now with Twilight, I feel like you're turning this into a little bit of a guessing game, because if you just look at this game from Drogo's point of view now, like, what could it be? It could be a million different things.
I see.
And if one thing goes wrong because you didn't see it coming, that little advantage that you're currently working with is completely gone. And making comebacks in this matchup as Protoss, unless it's late game and you have DTs and disruptors, is pretty hard. So I'm a little bit surprised to see him go Twilight in this particular scenario.
That's very interesting. What is the advantage of Twilight in your mind then? If you're behind, why would you want to go Twilight?
Well, I mean, like, if he can just not take any damage from the Withermine drop, then he has Blink, he's got a Robo, he's got Observers, then he doesn't need to make the silly investment in all the Stargate units, and he's just going to have a very powerful army. And then maybe he can steamroll his opponent later on with Blink, Colossus, Archon. But right now, this is important. The Adept should have seen it. We have 3 Stalkers, but they don't have Blink yet. And without Blink, it's kind of hard. Wow. I think MilkiCow.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. The problem for MilkiCow, again, like maybe a little bit of a, like I don't mean rookie in a bad way, but rather that he is inexperienced. He uses the boost of the medevac a little bit prematurely, right? So when it arrives to a position where he could actually go and commit into the mineral line because there's only 2 Stalkers, he doesn't have the boost, and that makes it very difficult. And
now he needs to be very careful because that medevac already took a couple of shots. So yeah, it's basically going to be stuck there. Now Drogo is, I don't want to say high risk, high reward kind of thing, but Drogo's decision to not go Stargate, but just go straight Blink, definitely paying off. Should be nice to have a Phoenix who's chipping away that medevac, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. But yeah, right now he's going to be able to get into Colossus and Blink and charge a whole lot quicker this way. So far, so good for Drogo. It's actually Templar Archives as the follow-up. Alrighty, maybe he's expecting 2-base aggression coming out of MilkiCow this time around.
Maybe so, and I like what Drogo has done to this medevac here, as he has 3 Stalkers showing their face to the medevac, and he has a setup where he has vision on the other side and a couple of Stalkers ready to pounce onto it should it try to escape. No recall for Terran, obviously. So, yeah, MilkiCow has to really bide his time with that medevac now.
It could also be a big Gabe medevac.
What's a big Gabe medevac?
Gabe, the Gabe special is the empty medevac as the Raven tries to get into the main base. Gabe likes to send, okay, Withermine drop. That medevac is not empty. Good job there by MilkiCow. Now he realizes, can he get the Observer? That would have been very fortunate if he did. Yeah, using the Raven, knowing that Drogo, obviously paying attention to that Raven, that's when he felt there was a little opportunity for the medevac. This medevac has a lot of energy, by the way, and the Templar Archives is done. So Drogo can start feedbacking, because feedback has more range than a Stalker shot. As an observer gets picked up on the other side of the map. Storm is pretty sick here against 2-base MilkiCow, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's come for the feedbacks that you were talking about as well. So this is really nice from Drogo. And one more will do it. That medevac is now doomed to death as it recovers in terms of energy. It cannot stop. I mean, yeah, if you were driving that medevac, you'd have to.
What's the Raven doing? Okay. I'm pretty worried. So I guess he's going to try to do something with the medevac here. He's going to pull Stalkers out of position, double auto turret. Is there a way to go somewhere for that very low HP medevac? The answer is no.
And the answer is no, and the next feedback is going to come in clutch here, as this Raven will look to escape and maybe do successfully. Nope. He's just going to scout around and take the dead airspace for further harass later in the game.
Drogo's army is actually kind of small. It's a 33 army supply. It's good because he has Storm. So Storm is going to be fantastic. But Storm is, I think, very good. Oh my god, we're going to pull all the boys, even though we're going up to 3 bases. This is so crazy. Why are we pulling all the boys? He knows there are High Templars. Maybe he thinks it's just a single High Templar. Now he runs into Storm. I think MilkiCow should send the boys back. I actually think he should send the boys back. And that's what he does.
He should. Oh my god, yeah, that was the biggest Storm ever. There isn't enough medevacs. Is there, like... Yeah, there's like no medevacs here pretty much. So gonna be a while until he can recover from that.
It's so sad. Look at the income graph right now. You don't often see that. And now it's just gonna stabilize. Because the game wasn't actually all that bad. Sure, Drogo had Storm, but Drogo's army wasn't that big. And Drogo also doesn't have great upgrades. It's very hard to end games against Terran players with just Zealot, Stalker, Storm. It's very strong defensively, but offensively, you don't really want to run into a Terran that's waiting for you. So it wasn't that bad for MilkiCow until he pulled 52 SCVs to the other side of the map to run into a Storm, and then he disengaged.
Yeah, Drogo, despite having the information here with the observer that he has in the middle of the map, doesn't or isn't ready for that run-by, and that fourth does go down. MilkiCow looking to split his army a little bit as Drogo has this run-by going on himself. 4 SCVs only have fallen.
If the orbital
further delays the mining. Yeah.
Oh, this is such a hectic and chaotic game, and you can clearly see that these guys are feeling the pressure. MilkiCow, that felt a little indecisive to me anyway, because we dropped the 3rd CC. Like, maybe it was a fake, maybe it was a jebait, but it's a pretty big investment, first of all. And we run into Storm. We're like, well, I guess the boys are going back to mining. And even right now, it doesn't look that bad. If he takes one good fight, we need to get the ghost out. But if we have 3 ghosts, all these Widow Mines are going to be fantastic against the Zealots. And the EMPs are going to be fantastic against the High Templars. MilkiCow finds 5 or 6 Zealots on the left side. A little bit of micro would be welcomed here. We don't have to lose that many Marines, but this worked out. In the same time, in the center of the War Prism goes down with a bunch of High Templars. Oh my goodness. He has 0 High Templars now. He's got 0 High Templars.
Jeez. And that was the main investment in terms of technology for PtitDrogo, but he is gonna deflect his army and do so strongly enough that he still feels like he can push on forward.
Widow Mines are running into the natural, by the way. Probes are being pulled. Citizens arrest is good, but there's also an army. So we're gonna lose this orbital, that's for sure. Maybe another one. But at the other end, MilkiCow is gonna force out a recall. Will the orbital live? No.
No chance, Jose. This recall does land onto a bunch of Widow Mines itself, but Drogo with good micro will avoid most of those shots. A very hectic game. This army is doomed here.
Yep, this army is doomed. That worked out great for Drogo. Saved the Nexus, killed a lot of SCVs, killed the orbital, and MilkiCow is now hard stuck on 2 bases for at least a little while longer, and lost a lot of supply there, right? And with the economy that he has, it's going to be very hard to replace all those units. Man, I feel like if he would have just gone back with his entire army after sniping that prison, it would have been okay. Now the full medevacs get found by the Stalkers as well. It's all Drogo at this point.
It's all Drogo indeed. This is just too much for MilkiCow to handle in the middle of the map, and he is going to be forced to tap out. 4 total probe kills on that Raven the entire